They called her the Golden Girl. I was the shadow she never noticed stepping on. My name is Elise Carter, and I was born exactly 14 months before my sister Vivian. For most of our childhood, people thought we were twins, except one of us sparkled like she had her own spotlight, and the other one faded into the curtains. Vivian had golden hair, perfect dimples, and a laugh that turned heads. I had a bookshelf full of academic awards, a closet filled with plain cardigans, and a quiet smile that nobody ever asked about. Mom used to say, "Vivian is a star. Elise, let her shine." "You're more grounded." I didn't realize grounded meant invisible. At school, I'd come home proudly holding first place in the science fair, but Mom would barely glance up from curling Vivian's hair for her next dance recital. Dad wasn't cruel, just distracted, always busy with his real estate clients, only emerging to tell Vivian she looked just like your mom did at your age. I remember one day in high school, I was selected to present my biology project at a regional conference. I was thrilled. I ran home and told everyone at dinner. Vivian blinked, looked up from her phone, and said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you I'm auditioning for Star Idol USA next week. Can we drive to LA?" The next 2 hours were all about song choices, stage outfits, vocal coaches, my project forgotten. The conference, I didn't even go. Dad needed the car for Vivian's audition. That's how it always was. I'd build something carefully like a sandcastle, and Vivian would come crashing through it with a single smile. But I kept going. While Vivian collected followers on social media and offers from modeling scouts, I was accepted into UCLA's pre-med program. I worked 2 jobs, interned at the hospital lab, and slept 5 hours a night. I earned every inch of my path with sweat and silence. When I was 23, I got into the Dresden Fellowship, a competitive research opportunity in Boston for top-tier medical graduates. It was a dream, one of those programs that can define your entire career. I remember standing in the kitchen holding the acceptance letter, eyes welling with tears. Vivian looked up from her oat milk latte and said, "Oh, I got a call from an agency in New York. They said I might be on the cover of Vogue Beauty Edition." "Isn't that crazy?" Mom screamed and hugged her. Dad poured champagne. I just stood there. Not even a congratulations, Elise. That night I sat in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering if maybe I was cursed. If some part of me was simply born to be invisible. I reminded myself I didn't need attention, I needed purpose. So I prepared for Boston. I submitted documents, scanned ID copies, booked an apartment tour, even bought my first winter coat online, long and navy blue like the women I'd see walking briskly through hospitals and movies. But then strange things started happening. Emails from the fellowship office went missing. My student portal showed someone logging in from a location in California. I received a message saying my social security number had been flagged for dual usage. I was confused, a little concerned, but I didn't panic yet, until I got the email. "Dear Ms. Carter, unfortunately, due to inconsistencies in your identity verification process, we will be rescinding your fellowship offer. Please contact us if you believe this is an error." My heart stopped. I reread it over and over, my whole future stolen with a single line. I ran to my laptop, called the number, emailed back, begged for clarification. Nothing, just a generic reply. A dead end. I went to my parents. Mom frowned. "Are you sure you didn't forget something in your application?" Dad didn't even look up from his tablet. "Things happen, Elise. You'll get another chance." "But Vivian?" Vivian looked smug. I didn't know why then, but I felt it. The way she avoided my eyes. The way she changed the subject quickly. The way she suddenly started dropping references to looking into biotech beauty partnerships in Boston. A week later, she posted a selfie standing in front of the exact lab building I was supposed to be at, smiling, holding a coffee, tagged with "New Beginnings." Science. Queen Boston vibes. My mouth went dry. I clicked through her photos. She'd dyed her hair darker. She'd started using a new middle name, Elise. I called the research center. They told me Ms. Elise Carter has already checked in. I froze. I couldn't breathe. Vivian didn't just steal my moment, she had taken my life. It took me 3 days to muster the courage to call the Dresden Fellowship office, not to plead, but to confirm the nightmare I couldn't shake. A soft-spoken assistant answered and said, "Oh yes, Ms. Elise Carter already attended orientation last week. Very enthusiastic, she'll be joining the gene expression team on skin cancer research." I hung up. My hands went numb. My heart didn't race. It froze. It felt like someone had broken into my life, locked the door behind them, and thrown away the key. Vivian hadn't just borrowed my name. She had studied my files, copied my thesis, memorized my academic language, and applied to my future like it was a costume. I tried logging into my student account, access denied. I called my bank. My card had been frozen due to suspicious transactions in Boston. I applied for a reissue of my social security details, and they told me that number is already active in another federal system, registered with an address in Boston. I, Elise Carter, had legally been erased from the system. And Vivian, she was walking through my dream in my coat, holding my badge and probably smiling at professors I'd admired since I was 19. I came home for dinner that week, a rare occasion after weeks of avoiding the house. Mom was ladling soup into shallow bowls. Dad scrolled on his iPad. Vivian wasn't there. Mom glanced at me, still unemployed. Elise, I swallowed hard. Mom. Someone stole my identity, she laughed. Not this again. Vivian is working in Boston now. Maybe you should take notes from her. I stared at her. Mom, she's using my name. My life. Dad didn't even look up. Let it go. Your sister made something of herself. You can too. I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I just excused myself from the table. And that night, for the first time in my life, I realized silence can be a strategy. I pulled out my old files printouts of my medical research, annotated diagrams, proposal drafts, conference presentations. Each paper had my mark on it, my tone, my phrasing, my logic. Vivian could wear my name, but she couldn't think like me. I pinned the pages to my wall like a detective tracking a case, and she was the suspect. Then I opened my phone and checked her Instagram. There she was, Vivian Elise Carter, darker hair now, a new wardrobe, carefully curated photos of coffee and lab coats, the captions, so honored to begin this new chapter in medical research. The human genome fascinates me. Another one read day 4 in the lab. Never thought gene therapy would steal my heart like this. My jaw clenched. The quotes were ripped from my senior thesis word for word. Then something unexpected happened. I received a message on my old university email. Hey, I'm your former TA from UCLA. Weird question. Are you in Boston? Because someone's presenting your cancer module seminar. Same slides, same jokes. Thought of you. My hands trembled. I didn't reply. But I saved the email, Exhibit A, in what would become my case. That night, I created a folder on my desktop. I named it Operation Silence. Vivian thought she had won. She thought she could live as me, unchallenged, untouchable. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to rebuild everything she stole, and then I was going to quietly take her entire world apart. And when she finally realized it, it would be too late. The silence didn't break me. It sharpened me while Vivian flaunted her new identity. My identity on stages and social feeds. I was slowly, methodically turning into someone she didn't know existed. The first thing I did was go back to square one as Elise Carter, but not the one the world forgot. I took a job waitressing at a hospital cafe 2 cities over, close enough to stay hidden, far enough not to run into anyone I knew. The pay was terrible, the hours long. But it gave me access to medical journals, lectures, and most importantly, people. That's where I met Ethan. He was a former patient recovering from a bad motorcycle crash, late 20s, quiet, always sitting alone with a laptop that looked like it ran 20 windows at once. We bonded over black coffee and sarcasm. I found out he was a cybersecurity dropout, brilliant, disillusioned, and not above a little digital mischief. One day I asked, how hard is it to trace someone's online identity or create one? He smirked. Depends. You trying to disappear or ruin someone? I didn't answer. But the next day I brought him a USB drive full of old screenshots, scanned documents, and Vivian's stolen seminar footage. He whistled. She didn't even cover her tracks. Amateur move. From that moment on, Ethan became my ghost architect. We built everything in silence. He created a shadow file, a digital replica of Vivian's online identity. But not the perfect version. We inserted flaws. Mismatched degrees, fake citations, minor spelling errors in papers Vivian had presented. All subtle. The goal wasn't to destroy her immediately. The goal was to plant doubt in those who believed in her. Meanwhile, I spent late nights rebuilding my credentials from scratch under a new version of myself. New middle name, new email, fresh certifications. I started attending free online lectures and forums under the alias Elena West. I slowly rebuilt my presence, not as Elise, the sister betrayed, but as someone clean, competent, and untethered from the mess Vivian had made of my name. Every time Vivian posted a new achievement, I logged it. Every time she used one of my original research lines, I copied it, time-stamped my version from years before, and saved it in a folder labeled confiscation. But the first crack came from her own ego. Vivian posted a video clip, a lab presentation with her walking through a theory on genomic modulation. Except, it wasn't hers, it was mine. A theory I had submitted in a grad school competition 3 years ago. I still had the original video. I uploaded my version anonymously to a scientific forum under the title Originality or Opportunism. It went viral among a small, skeptical academic crowd. A few days later, Vivian posted nothing. Her feed went quiet. 1 week passed, then she posted a vague tweet. Some people are so obsessed with dragging others down. Get a life. I smiled. She had no idea it was me. And that was the power I now held. I didn't stop there. Ethan helped me find the investor behind her beauty biotech startup. A shallow, image-obsessed futurist named Miles Corbin. Vivian was one of the brand's research ambassadors. Using a fake identity, I emailed him as an anonymous whistleblower. You should vet your researchers. A few of us in the community are starting to talk, and not kindly attached was a dossier Ethan had compiled showing just enough suspicious content to raise Miles's blood pressure. Vivian posted a cheerful photo 2 days later with the caption, "Big pitch coming up, stay tuned." But behind the scenes, we heard through Miles's assistant that he delayed their product launch indefinitely due to verification issues. For the first time, Vivian wasn't gaining ground. She was losing it little by little, and the best part, she didn't know it was me. She probably thought it was karma or critics or the natural backlash of being famous. She had no idea her biggest threat was the girl she once stepped over in her own house. I didn't want to ruin her publicly, not yet. I wanted to leave her intact enough to watch her crumble from within. Because once someone steals your life and wears it like a costume, the most powerful revenge isn't to rip it off, it's to make them sweat inside it. It started with a job application, the position lead researcher for a biotech company in San Francisco. The name I used, Vivian Elise Carter. I sent in a near-perfect resume filled with Vivian's stolen credentials, polished and perfected. But this time every detail was real. The publications I had written them, the research I had conducted it, the references. Ethan built a web of academic contacts that led nowhere but still looked flawless. 2 weeks later, I got the job. As her Vivian didn't even know the company existed, it was too new, too niche, but I did. And more importantly, it was funded by investors Vivian had been chasing for months. When I received the onboarding packet, I stared at the name on the envelope. Vivian Elise Carter. I had never felt more powerful. While Vivian played the public game posting photos in designer heels and sipping kombucha under lab signs, she barely understood. I was sitting in conference rooms, actually doing the work she pretended to lead. I used my voice, my mind, my real skill. And no one questioned it, because in their eyes I was her, but I wasn't faking it, she was. Meanwhile, I leaked another breadcrumb, an anonymous email to the committee behind a prestigious medical award Vivian had been shortlisted for. Please review this application carefully. Some of the listed publications are unverifiable or appear duplicated from other sources. I attached an old version of my thesis, time-stamped, published under my new alias, and compared it to Vivian's paper submitted for the award. Within 48 hours, her name was quietly removed from the list of nominees. She never made a public statement, just posted an Instagram story saying some dreams aren't meant to be, on to the next. No, Vivian. Some dreams were never yours to begin with. Then came the final test. A biotech startup pitch event in New York. Vivian had been bragging about it online for weeks. It was her big break, a televised competition featuring 12 rising names in medical innovation. What she didn't know was that I had been selected too, under the same name. How easy. I used a different email, a slightly altered birth date, and a new phone number. But the same persona, Vivian Elise Carter, the brilliant researcher from Boston, they accepted both applications. 2 Vivian Carters. Ethan grinned when I told him this'll be a glitch in their matrix. I flew to New York, booked a sleek black suit, practiced my pitch until I could deliver it with my eyes closed. And when I stepped onto that stage under the hot lights, I looked directly into the camera and said, "I'm Vivian Elise Carter. And I'm here to change the way we treat autoimmune disease, not with borrowed science, but with lived experience." The crowd erupted, not with screams, but attention. They leaned in. I could feel it, ownership. Vivian never showed up, whether she was tipped off or panicked or realized she couldn't compete with her own stolen shadow. I'll never know. But her silence said everything. And when the episode aired weeks later, there was only one Vivian Carter standing on that stage, me. She tried to fight back vaguely. She posted online, so many liars out there pretending to be me. I'm sick of fake people getting attention, but she didn't name me. She couldn't, because by now, even she wasn't sure who Vivian Carter really was. And that was the beauty of it. I didn't have to expose her. I didn't have to ruin her. I just had to become her better. The invitation came in an email so simple it could have been spam. Sunday dinner. It's been too long. Everyone's invited. Vivian will be there, Mom. That was all it said. No apology, no warmth, just a command disguised as tradition. But I read between the lines. It wasn't just a family dinner, it was a reckoning. Vivian hadn't posted in weeks. Her once busy social media was nearly abandoned. Her captions drying up into vague affirmations like, taking time to reset. Not every loss is public. That told me everything. The silence was working. The collapse had started. Now it was time to see it in person. I arrived 10 minutes early, something I never used to do when I still lived in that house. I used to show up quietly, late and unseen. Not tonight. I wore a navy silk blouse. Not too flashy, not too plain. Hair up, bare face, but proud posture. I rang the bell. Mom opened the door with a rehearsed smile. Elise. Finally, you look mature. Thanks, I said, been growing. She stepped aside. Inside, the kitchen smelled like overcooked roast and something burnt beneath it. The table was set for 6, though I didn't recognize all the chairs anymore. Dad sat with his nose in a beer. My cousin Lisa was on her phone. Vivian wasn't there yet. Of course she was late. She always needed the entrance, and right on cue, the door opened again. She stepped in. She looked like a ghost, thinner than I remembered, her cheeks hollowed out beneath heavy concealer. Her once effortless walk now slightly cautious, like someone unsure if they still belonged in their own shoes. She spotted me immediately. Froze. I tilted my head. Vivian Elise. She said the word almost trembling. No hug, no cheek kiss. Just cold air stretching between us like an old war trench. And then she did what she always did when cornered. She smiled like nothing had happened. Didn't know you were back in town. I smiled back. I'm not just visiting. I have a conference next week in D.C. speaking on clinical ethics and data ownership. Her eye twitched. That topic had hit too close. She knew it. I knew it. Dinner started. Chatter floated awkwardly, mostly between Mom and Lisa. Dad asked about football scores. No one mentioned careers. No one dared. Until Mom, ever the showrunner, decided to stir the pot. So she said, cutting into dry roast Elise, we saw you on that panel, the biotech one. Your presentation was impressive. I swallowed my sip of wine and offered a polite nod. Thank you. It was my research, after all. Vivian's fork froze midair. But I thought... Mom paused, glancing toward her. Weren't you working on autoimmune stuff too? Viv, you said you had something similar planned. Vivian forced a breathy laugh. Well, I was, but the project fell apart. Some of the files went missing. Miscommunication with the team. Mom blinked. Shame. Elise seems to be thriving. I didn't need to gloat. Life was already doing it for me. Later that night, I stepped out for air. The driveway was quiet, still slick with dew. I heard the door creak behind me. Vivian followed. She didn't say anything at first, just stood next to me, arms crossed, the air between us tight, with everything unsaid. Then softly, why are you doing this to me? I turned slowly. Doing what? You know what? Her voice cracked. You've been sabotaging everything. Emails, conferences, clients, dropping me. I don't even know how you're getting in. I said nothing. She stepped closer, almost desperate now. You're pretending to be me. I let the silence hang. Then I said quietly, no, Vivian, I'm not pretending. I'm just living the life you tried to steal. The difference is I earned it. She stared at me, eyes wide. I didn't steal anything. I helped both of us. You were always so serious, so boring. I made your work matter. I laughed quietly, bitterly. You dressed up in my skin and thought you'd become me. But you didn't build anything, Vivian. You just wore it like a rented dress until it didn't fit anymore. She shook her head. I can fix this. I can rebrand. I stepped closer. There's nothing left to rebrand. Your lies caught up to you. And now, you're exactly where I used to be. She flinched. not because of volume. I never raised my voice, but because the truth echoed louder than anything I could scream. I walked away. Back to my apartment, my real life not borrowed, not stolen, mine. That night, I opened my laptop and checked an old folder titled Operation Silence. I selected every file, every screenshot, every timestamp, every proof I no longer needed, and clicked delete. Not because I was erasing evidence, but because I'd already won. Weeks later, a friend forwarded me a private link, a hidden blog buried on the second page of a forgotten search engine. It was written by someone anonymous, but I knew the voice. There's a strange kind of loneliness when you lose a life that was never fully yours, when the mirror stops recognizing you, when applause fades and you realize you never belonged on the stage to begin with. No name, no signature, just silence. Vivian was gone, not physically, but as a presence, as a force, as a shadow over me, and in her place, a quiet peace. I didn't destroy her. I didn't expose her. I didn't scream revenge. I just became better than everything she pretended to be. And in the end, that was enough.